करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै। ओम शांति शांति शांति। ओम भद्रं कर्णेभिः शृणुयाम देवाः भद्रं पश्येमाक्षभिर्यजत्राः स्थिरैरङ्गैस्तुष्टुवागुंसस्तनूभिः व्यशेम देवहितं यदायुः। स्वस्ति न इन्द्रो वृद्धश्रवाः स्वस्ति नः पूषा विश्ववेदाः स्वस्ति नस्तार्क्ष्यो अरिष्टनेमिः स्वस्ति नो बृहस्पतिर्दधातु। ओम शांति शांति शांति। Okay, so last time we discussed about Arjuna's dilemma, whether to fight or not to fight. In fact, there was no dilemma. He was sure it is good not to fight. And he totally forgot the purpose for which he came to the battlefield, because he was overpowered by deep emotions towards his near and dear ones. And as we discussed last time, for a novice who do not have the background of Mahabharata, it will appear that the first chapter of Bhagavad Gita is enough and it's over, because Arjuna is very clear one should not be fighting for the sake of kingdom, for enjoying the kingdom, etc., at the cost of lives of so many people. So it is better to be peaceful and retire in a forest rather than fight for a kingdom. And the way we are trained in modern times, most of us will subscribe to that idea. That peace is the big, most important thing, and fighting, having armies and weapons and something similar is not good for the earth. So we have disarmament policy and this and that. There are so many NGOs working for it. So this is how we are trained. And Arjuna gave those arguments for not fighting, totally forgetting that the fight was not for his personal gains. Neither his personal gain, nor even as Pandavas, 5 Pandavas, not for their personal gains. If it was for their personal gains, Krishna would never have joined them. The fight was for a larger purpose of restoring the dharma. And the restoring the dharma was possible only by punishing the adharmis. And all these powerful adharmis who were part of the ruling community, they couldn't be punished except by choosing this war. So that is the reason the fight was there, which Arjuna forgot. And then we see, so first he decided it's good not to fight. And then we saw how he confabulated the arguments. And we will proceed with the arguments, because these arguments are quite powerful. Not only they are powerful, these arguments also reflect the mindset during his time, and we must know that. And that mindset still continues. Maybe it has got diluted in our culture, especially in India. because India has that culture which was there during the Mahabharata period. Still, it has a lot of it. So we must know what is the mindset of that time, how people looked at things, and how they conducted their life. So it gives us a glimpse of history too, along with the question of dharma, adharma, and the morals. Who is that that author? Yuval Harari. Anybody have heard of him? That Israeli? Okay. He is, I mean, I came to know him during COVID times. And I was very, very impressed by the way he writes. So, in one of his lectures, he said that up to 300 years back, or even in some parts of the world, 200 years back, the focus of general population was what should be their life after death. So life after death was very, very important. And you will find across cultures, across geographies, whether you take those other religions, Islam, Christianity, even Judaism, and even if you take the Eastern ones, Hinduism, Jainism, Buddhism, Sikhism, etc. Everybody, I mean, a lot of a sizable chunk of talking was about life after death. People would plan, people were more concerned what will happen to them after death. And whatever their scriptures tell, that if you do this right thing, then you will get some heaven or heavenly thing or swarga or this. And if you do wrong things, then you go to naraka or hell or whatever. So that was important part of the discussion. Only in the last 100 or especially last 50, 70 years and this 100 years, because the life expectancy has increased because of better medical care and many other things. So now the focus of people is not after death, but while living. Could you get my point? Or am I able to convey the point? The earlier focus was life after death, but the present day focus is life before death. So life after death was the focus all over the globe. And same argument, set of arguments you will find in the first chapter of the Bhagavad Gita. Okay, I'll come to that later. So just remember, life after death. Okay, this much one has to remember. So he gives the arguments. Can you please share the verses, Rajesh?
Can you see now?
Yes. Okay, we'll quickly go through these verses. Some of them I may not spend a lot of time. Remember, I stopped at life after death versus life before death. Okay, only that much hint I will give. Now we are moving our attention to these slokas. Yesham arthe kangshitam nah rajyam bhoga sukhani cha. That no I have read as nah, because when you do sandhi vicheda, When you make a break, then the Sandhi rules come in. So it's not that I'm making mistake in reading. Taime vasthita yuddhe pranans tyaktva dhanani cha. Okay. Okay. So those very persons for whose sake we covered the kingdom, this shloka we did. Okay. Then acharyaha pitaraha putraha tathaiva cham pitamahaha matula shvasuraha pautraha shala sambandhinas tatha. That Hindi sala word comes from this shala. Shala is the Sanskrit word. Okay. So all these relatives are there in the battlefield. Let us move ahead. This we did last time.
Okay. Give me some time. Okay.
Yeah, please.
I want to open the last one.
Okay. Etanna hantumichhami gnatopi madhusudana api trailokya rajyasya hetoho kimnu mahikrite. That these people, these near and dear ones, I do not want to kill even if they want to kill me. Okay? Even if they want to kill me, I don't want to kill them. Even at the cost of losing the kingdom in the three worlds. So what to talk of kingdom on this earth? So he is talking such nicely and so philosophically. It just aptly fits the modern day peace activists. Okay, please. Next sloka.
Yeah.
We also discussed last time that peace doesn't happen. It's a pipe dream unless one is powerful. Peace has to be enforced. Peace cannot be wished. WISHED. You cannot wish that there should be peace and then the peace happens. Yes, you can wish. Wishing is good, but that is not enough. It has to be enforced. And it has been happening throughout the history. Any century you go back in time, you will find peace cannot be begged or prayed for. It has to be enforced. And same thing happens in the modern times. Okay. Nihatya dharta rashtrannah ka pritif syad janardana papam eva ashrayed asman hatva etan atatayinah. So what he is saying? Even though they are atatais are, atatai was a word reserved for those criminals who have engaged in one of the 8 crimes. Now, I may not be able to list all the 8 here, okay? But one of those crimes was outraging the modesty of a woman. Okay, that was one of the crimes, and it deserved capital punishment. That person was called Atatai, and the person had to be killed. So even Arjuna acknowledges that these people are Atatais. Okay, and as I discussed last time, according to the rule of that time, the person who is capable of stopping a crime, if he or she remains a mute spectator to the crime, then he or she also is considered equally as criminal as the one who is directly involved in the crime. Did you understand?
Yeah.
A witness of the crime who is capable is also considered participant of the crime. Capable person. Capable to stop the crime. So by that definition, Dhritarashtra himself was criminal because he was the king. He could have stopped that Draupadi Chirharana. And Bhishma was there, Dronacharya was there, Kripacharya were there, and all the three were individually, they were capable of stopping that crime. But due to whatever compulsions, they couldn't do it. They didn't do it. So they were also considered atatais. Okay. Next sloka, please. Another thing, when we talk of how much time do we have? Okay. When we talk of larger picture, I must share with you something very basic, but very important, which we generally miss it out. In India, you see, the Constitution of India has this structure. The core of the Constitution is called the preamble, and it's a one-page document, but it defines what are the basic rights of a citizen and which cannot be violated by anybody. Then there are acts which are passed by the parliament in keeping with the preamble. Okay. Of course, there is a full book of constitution based on the preamble. And then to further the cause of the preamble, the aims of the preamble, the parliament passes some acts. And then acts are the broader policies. Then there are rules under the acts. Okay. Now, this is the hierarchy. Preamble is the most sacred. To tinker with the preamble, you need a lot of discussion and you need 2/3 of majority in both the houses of parliament to pass or to make any amendment to the preamble. But to make an amendment to an act, you don't need 2/3 majority. A simple majority is good enough. And to make changes in the rules, you don't even need the parliament. The executive, the party who is in power, they can make the rules. You got my point? So the one which is very basic is considered most sacred, and because it is sacred, it is by the convention, they made it more difficult to change it. The one which is less fundamental, changing it is easier. And the one which is least fundamental, anybody can change anytime. You got my point? Similarly, a ruling by the Supreme Court cannot be overruled by High Court. We have Supreme Court and High Court. High Court at the state levels and the Supreme Court at the union level, central level. So if Supreme Court gives a judgment, the High Court cannot challenge it. Correct? Now, so this is what we have to understand. When we talk of rules, dharma, etc., there are certain basic dharma rules, and they cannot be violated, they cannot be changed, they cannot be tinkered with. Then there are certain other functional dharma rules. So I will give you two examples, very, very simple examples. Not to tell lies, telling truth is basic dharma. Okay? Not to use mobile in a classroom is a functional dharma. You got my point? Both are dharmas. But today it is mobile phone. Tomorrow it may be some other device. And some in the past there were no mobile phones, so there was no mobile dharma available. So mobile dharma came along with the mobile, and it changes with time. But to tell the truth always is the basic dharma, and it is timeless. It doesn't change with time. You got my point? So those dharma rules which do not change with time, they are called the most fundamental dharma rules, and they are the larger picture. In front of them, other functional dharma rules which can change with time, which are dynamic, they cannot overpower or they cannot cloud the basic dharma rule and become predominant. Now, what Arjuna missed in his argument was he lost the basic dharma rule. Okay, and that is what I meant was he lost the sight of the larger picture. The larger picture was punishing the adharmis and establishing the rule of righteousness. And for that, the war was there, and not for somebody's gain or somebody's loss. Correct? So that was the most important thing. Other things were functional dharma rules. And sometimes if there is a conflict between a functional dharma rule and the basic dharma rule, then the basic dharma rule prevails. I'm sure in your country also, because the basic way how law works remains same throughout the world, unless it's a Taliban law, then I don't know. They have a very different jurisprudence. But otherwise, it remains same. The logic remains same. The most fundamental ones cannot be overruled by less fundamental laws. And when I said many a times we lose the sight, and even when we are arguing or discussing things, we give equal weightage to two opposing arguments, and then we never come to a conclusion, and then we fritter away time, etc. This is how we do. Why? Because we are not clear which is more fundamental and which is less fundamental. And that's why the discussion sways and goes in the wrong direction. But when that clarity is there, this problem will not arise. Okay? Now, coming back to this slogan. Tasmat na arha vayam hantum dhartarashtran swabandhavan swajanam hi katham hatva sukhina syama madhava. So, therefore, Krishna, it does not behove us to kill our relations, the son of Dhritarashtra. For how can we be happy after killing our own kinsmen? So Arjuna is thinking this fight is for his happiness, which is absurd. It's not for his happiness. Neither the happiness of Arjuna, nor even the Pandavas. It's not for their happiness. Next. यद्यपि एते न पश्यन्ति लोभोपहत चेतसः कुलक्षय कृतं दोषं मित्रदोहे च पातकम् कथं न ज्ञेयम् अस्माभिः पापाद् अस्मान् निवर्तितुं कुलक्षय कृतं दोषं प्रपश्यद्भिर्जनार्दन. This and okay, even though these people are unable to see that fighting will destroy the race. And now you see what was his argument. Because of killing, the races will be destroyed. When the races are destroyed, then the structure of the society gets disturbed, distorted. For example, some of you might remember the Iran-Iraq war in the 80s. Okay. And it was a 10-year war. And both the sides lost uh, able-bodied menfolk, because mostly the men who were going for the war. And because of that, there was a distortion in the demography. There were women, there were too many women and very less men in the society. So Iran had to devise a law by which there what they called as a contract marriage. One can marry one man can marry a woman for 2 years, 3 years, and then or even 6 months, and then change, and another woman, then another woman, then another woman, so that each woman gets chance to be married to a man, because men were less in number. You got my point? So how fighting can disturb the structure, the fabric of the society. And when that thing is disturbed, and India was like this country, and this extended India, I would say, it is still is a more structured society compared to other societies. Of course, with lot of distortions. And it was very much a structured society. So family traditions were considered important. Whereas family traditions in the modern times have very little meaning. Why we should continue? Okay, that is the argument. But earlier it is the family tradition. It was important. Which type of genetic pool one is passing on, that was important. They didn't want to contaminate the genetic pool from one type to another. Why? Because they didn't want that disruption in their traditions. Why traditions were important? Because traditions were some kind of a collective wisdom which was passed from one generation to another, to another, to another. And it was like a well-tested document, okay, passed on through word of mouth, the wisdom through word of mouth. Like we still have so many home remedies in India. Okay, for this pain, okay, you take garlic, put it in oil, boil it or heat it, and then rub it, etc., etc. For every small ailment, there are 5 or 10 home remedies, and it is there even in other cultures too. Okay, at least in Europe, I read many articles. They still have those home remedies. Now, these home remedies are the is the wisdom which is being passed on as family traditions from one generation to another, to another, to another. And if you remove a few generations in between, then the knowledge is lost, the tradition is lost. So tradition, whenever we talk of tradition, it actually means some kind of knowledge which is passed from one generation to another, and which is not so well documented, and which is passed as word of mouth. Now, when a war of Mahabharata scale happens, that means sometimes 2 generations are involved in one same war. The grandfather is even 3 generations: grandfather, father, and the grandson. All three are involved. And this fight is such that till the other side, everybody is killed, the fight will continue. So 3 generations go all of a sudden from families. Some families, it may be just one generation. So that will cause a lot of disturbance in the society, and that brings disorder in the society. Let us quickly go to the next few shlokas. Rajesh ji. कुलक्षये प्रणश्यन्ति कुलधर्मा सनातनाः धर्मे नष्टे कुलं कृत्स्नम् अधर्मो अभिभवत्युत अभिभवति उत. Okay, so age-long family traditions disappear with destruction of a family, and virtue having been lost, vice takes hold of the entire race. Yeah, because in tradition, certain things go unsaid and we do it without questioning it. Okay, so that discipline is lost. And when that discipline is lost, then vices take over because that's a default state. People tend to go towards vices. So that will have a lot of negative impact on the society. This is what is Arjuna's argument, and they are perfect argument. Nobody is denying that. Next sloka, please. अधर्माभिभवात् कृष्ण प्रदुष्यन्ति कुलस्त्रियः स्त्रीषु दुष्टासु वार्ष्णेय जायते वर्ण संकरः. This is another thing. Because it was a structured society, so there were groups, the castes, and the laws or the traditions followed by the caste, because each caste would have one particular family business or a family tradition for even living. And they would have a, like, you cannot have a person coming from a family of a military or a defense person, okay, a defense family, and a person coming from a farmer's family. They will have different way of looking at things, different lifestyles, even sometimes different food. So all those gets confused. How men folk has gone, so now women folk are too many in numbers. So there is a cross culture crossing over of women, and that will disrupt the fabric of the society. Okay, all of this sounds very absurd, okay, in modern times. Why? Because in fact we encourage cross culture connections, isn't it, nowadays? But at that time it was not encouraged. One can always argue which is better, which is not better. There are points in favor and against it. We are not getting into it. Okay, I'm not giving my opinion that that was better or this is better. But this is how they used to think. And that cross-culture things, that destroys the age-old traditions, the practices, and those things get lost forever. And this is what we find in many cultures. Things got evaporated. For example, the Egyptian pyramids and the secrets behind the pyramids are no more available. They are trying to guess, but really speaking, they cannot fully grasp what was the purpose of making the pyramid, and what all knowledge base was involved, and what they wanted to continue in the tradition from one generation to another. So they try to decipher whatever they can, but it is always 30-40% truth and 60-70% guesswork. But in India, that thing is still alive because traditions were given so importance that the knowledge base, what was there thousands of years back, still continues to come to us and go further down. Why? Because of these strong importance given to traditions. And it has its own handicap. We do understand. Nobody denies that. But then the positive side of it is that what knowledge was available 10,000 years back, or even before that, it continues to flow even now, and which is such a big treasure. And the credit goes to those people who gave importance to the tradition. Okay. So he said, when the generations get lost, all these things happen. The traditions get lost, the knowledge base gets lost, and there are problems. Next shloka, please. Sankaro narakayaiva kulaghnanam kulasya cha patanti pitaro hyesham lupta pindodaka kriyaha. Remember, I started with life after death and life before death. Or have you forgotten? Remember, it comes to that. Once those traditions are lost, then that was the, this is how people used to think. That was accepted by the scriptures. That if you lose the functional dharma, the practices, then you go to naraka. Naraka means a kind of hell, because you didn't practice what you have to do regularly, properly. And because of that non-practice, life after death becomes very difficult. So this is what Arjuna gave as argument, and it is accepted. So progeny due to promiscuity damns the destroyers of the race as well as the race itself, deprived of the offering of rice and water, that's Shraddha Tarpanas. The means of their race also fall. And all these things are very much valid. And they believed in it very much. Next sloka. दोषैः एतैः कुलघ्नानां वर्णसङ्करकारकैः उत्साद्यन्ते जातिधर्माः कुलधर्माश्च शाश्वताः. As we have already discussed, because of that intermixture of castes and then the age-long traditions, family customs, all these things get destroyed. Next, please. By the way, you see, is everybody here? I'll just take 2 minutes, but I need your attention. How contradicting things we encourage. For example, on one hand, we believe in integration. For like in the US, even I'm sure in Canada, you are a citizen of that country and the country is supreme. Everything else is secondary to it. Correct? And you take oath. If you get a new citizenship, then you take oath in the name of that country and commit yourself to uphold the rules of the constitution and whatnot. Isn't it true? Now, on the other hand, they promote diversity, and that's why there will be a Mexican group and then the European group and the Indian group and the South Asian groups and then subgroups, etc., etc. Even that is promoted. Correct? Isn't it true? Now, when you are promoting the smaller groups, okay, at times those smaller groups, they are they are in friction with the larger group as a country. And especially it will happen with smaller Islamic groups. Islamic group says, for example, in France, okay, the French rules. The Islamic rules, Islamic groups say that hijab is very important for the women. Whereas the French rule says that nobody should wear hijab. Okay. Now they are at loggerheads. And promoting one puts the other one down, and promoting the other one puts the first one down. And we try to encourage both of them. And then we don't know where to stop it. And especially when it comes to UK, they definitely don't know where to stop it. And they are facing a lot of problems. So individual tradition on one hand, we try to encourage. And on the other hand, we try to steamroll all the traditions into one mass of common one. And at times they are mutually exclusive. They are against each other, and yet they try to coexist. They try to coexist and continue in their daily living. Now, so even the present day cross culture things, because the overall rules of a country like your Canada or the US, they promote something which is basic, common, but while promoting that, they also promote the individual, the traditions of smaller groups too. So it is not that the tradition of smaller groups are not nurtured even in present day living. They are, and they are important. But at times we miss the picture. And another thing is, as I said, sometimes they contradict each other and they don't know how to handle it. Okay, next. Okay, we stop here. And if there are any questions, people can ask. And then we will end with the Shanti Mantra, because we have very less time now. It's 4 or 5 minutes. Questions, please. Silence will not help, neither me, because I can't even see you properly. I don't know you properly. So the questions are the only window by which I come to know people. Questions,
Namaste,
comments?
Acharya ji.
Namaste. Namaste.
Actually, it is very much interesting, but I don't know how to ask questions.
Okay.
I'll slowly.
You try, even if it is,
Yeah.
whatever you feel.
It is very nice. I understand this functional dharma and actual this thing. So
Yeah.
how tradition, everything helps us to continue,
Right.
and we like a tradition keeps the culture alive, culture or whatever.
Correct.
Alive,
It
and
keeps
our children also will know what we want, the life we led. Like I
Exactly.
know, like I'm just sharing. It is nothing like.
Yes.
I grew up in a different atmosphere,
Yeah.
like long back. Now I'm old. So those nowadays, my grandchildren, they can't even imagine the houses there.
True. I
The way
understand.
we used to go to school, study, how parents were there with us, how we were with them. This and all, even in the movies and all, also nowadays they don't see Indian movies also, and they cannot even understand. But how to make them little bit understand also, I don't know.
No, but maybe you can encourage them to see movies. The
They
old
don't.
movies.
They don't.
No. You call them for a feast. Okay, make a good payasam or something. Something which they like. Okay.
Pizza wala zamana.
No, pizza also you say, but you payasam also one must have. Okay. And then with the payasam you say, okay, 15 minutes, we have a small movie. And then after that, we start with payasam. And that is the only way. You can't make them sit for 2 hours or 2.5 hours and give them lectures. It doesn't work.
Yeah, this 5-10 minutes to talk to them is so difficult because always with mobile they are.
Yeah, mobile now you don't ask. Mobile is a new dharma. It's a new god. And I call it Google Devata or whatever.
Google
New
Devata.
devatas have come.
Sorry, what did you?
Google Devata.
Google Devta.
So we have new temples and new
Hmm.
religion called internet. And 10 minutes is more than enough nowadays. Anything more than 10 minutes means it's a long
Fine.
age. Yeah.
Cannot.
So,
Swamiji, can-
and it has its own consequence.
Yeah, we should like actually we are not that so like very much. I call so much we are not educated to
Yeah.
talk to them. So fast, if we tell anything, they will understand. They will,
Right.
but we make because they respect us also.
I understand. So one has to keep the talk for 5 minutes. In 5
Yes.
minutes, you convey one idea and stop it, and then give paisa. That's all.
Actually, okay.
I don't know whether you were there in that class or not. I gave that live example where a 2-year-old child
Yeah,
was
mobile.
being mobile, and then
I told to my grandson, but they
yeah.
don't even care to.
I know.
I told him.
So
how-
this is how the times are. You cannot. You have to adjust according to that.
Yeah.
That's all.
Thank you so much. I have met you in Dubai. You came to then
Yeah.
you took
Okay.
class there.
Sure. I understand.
Do you remember me?
Yeah, I do.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Hari Om. Okay, we start with the Shanti mantra. Om Purnamadah Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha Harihi Om.
Hari Om.
Hari Om.